Hi Harleen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. So today I just wanted to kind of talk to you about some personal things going on. So kind of bring up any issues that you might need some help with, some guidance, just to kind of, get you ready for whatever you're facing.
Okay, that sounds good.
So what are some things that are bothering you right now?
I think the thing I struggle with the most right now is a work-life balance.
Okay.
Between teaching and having a business and trying to manage my self-care and social life, it's been a bit of a challenge.
I completely agree. How are you kind of tolerating all of that, or how are you dealing with it?
I don't think I'm doing a very good job.
No, why is that?
I find myself wrapped up in work a lot more than I should be.
Okay.
So not only am I working while I'm at work, but I'm also doing a lot of work from home.
Okay.
So that translates over into my personal time. And so it's just a fine line, and I always tend to cross that boundary, just getting wrapped up in the work piece and not making enough time for myself.
Okay, so have you kind of implemented any ideas to kind of help you out with that, or how are you going to know where to draw the line, because you're kind of stretching yourself out really thin?
Yeah, it really depends on how busy I am in my work. I guess how much work stuff is going on. On the weeks that it is lighter, I have a lighter workload, I find it's easier to manage my time. So I can find myself, hanging out with family, or going, to the gym, or going for a walk, getting fresh air. For example, these last 3 weeks have been very heavy in terms of my workload, in terms of business. It's getting to be peak season. Yeah. So this is a time that I really struggle, and then I find it really hard to kind of get out of that. And the line is it just disappears. It's just not existent when my work is too much for me to handle.
Okay. And then so how does that kind of make you feel? Like, what are some emotions and things like that you go through when you're in the state of like craziness?
Panic.
Yeah, you could say that.
Frustration.
Yeah.
I think frustration is probably one of the biggest ones, especially when I feel like I'm doing really well with managing my time, and then all of a sudden it doesn't go well, and I lose control. Mm-hmm. I guess I could say that's an emotion, because I feel like when I lose control, it's really hard to get my momentum back and get back on track. Yeah. What else? Yeah, frustration, losing control. Sometimes it's just like a whirlwind of emotions. Sometimes it's, this is great, I'm just getting a lot done, because I do work well under pressure, so I am very productive. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't realize the consequences on my personal,
My personal, and then what else? What else does it affect in your life besides?
My sleep. Yeah. I think I don't sleep well when I'm stressed out. Mm-hmm. So again, these last 3 weeks I've been extremely stressed out. It's been very, very heavy. Yeah. So it's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster, where I have some really good days, mm-hmm. and then other days I feel like I just hit rock bottom. Yeah. And I'm sad, and I'm crying, and mm-hmm. I'm angry and upset, all of these sorts of things. Yeah. That I don't experience on a day-to-day basis, but primarily when I'm losing that control and that focus.
Okay, so those are kind of the main things so it really takes a toll on your mental health then, right? Yeah. And then what about like physical aspects? So you said you're losing sleep a little bit. Is there any, how is that impacting you?
Yeah, so when I lose sleep, I feel like I get really anxious. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm just really on edge about everything. One of my coping mechanisms for my stress and to manage is to go to the gym or to get outdoors. Mm-hmm. And I can't do any of those things because I'm stressed out from work, and then I don't get enough sleep. So the next day I'm tired and I'm anxious. So
it's like a cycle, and it just kind of keeps going. Yeah.
It's very cyclical that way. And then I just find it really hard to get out of that. Mm-hmm. And I know that I need to do certain things for my mental health, but I just can't because I'm exhausted.
Yeah, and you're too busy, and then just like how we're talking about, you just keep going over and over and over again. Yeah. So let's go a little bit deeper. So that's kind of the emotions that you feel, and bodily functions that happen or altered or emotionally. But what about kind of like the inside? So I know you have a set of core beliefs that you kind of, go by and you stick to. How are those impacted in any way, or like do you have any kind of moments where things are contradictory to what you believe in your core versus what's happening in your world?
I don't think my values or anything like that really changes. I think it's just when that line disappears, I lose myself. In the ways that I've already mentioned. So I think it's just really hard to get back out of that rut. Especially when I've worked so hard to, you know, focus on myself, make my self-care a priority, and then it's gone, and it's really hard for me to get back in. So in terms of, you know, what my core beliefs and things like that are, I mean, in terms of how I approach my work or approach my work-life balance, that doesn't change. I still have that same importance, no matter where I'm at with that. But when I see these things, not having a grasp on these things, as I move forward and go into these rough patches or heavy workload weeks, it's just chaos. So my beliefs don't change, but I know what I need to be doing, but it's hard for me to get back into that mindset.
Do it. So usually, like, I always like to bring up having big rocks and small rocks. So big rocks, if you have a jar, your big rocks are some of the most important things. So for you, one can be work, maybe it's family, whatever, those big rocks. And then you have the pebbles, and then you have the sand. So the sand is kind of the least important aspect of it, where it's like, you know, you could do without it type of thing. Whereas the big rocks, it's, you know, all or nothing. So if you try to imagine, if you try putting sand in, pebbles, and then big rocks, you see that it doesn't really fill up compared to if you add the big rocks, then the smaller rocks, and then the sand. So going along with that, do you have a few big rocks that you like really want to focus on and kind of, you know, it's all or nothing and you really want to focus on that?
I would say my big rocks are obviously my career, because I've been talking about that since we started. My family, for sure. My mental health and my physical health, I think, would be the four biggest rocks. In terms of all the pebbles and things like that, I think for me, in a way, those pebbles and smaller rocks are things that support my career, my family, my mental health, and my physical health. So things like, I guess, activities that I like to do.
Like hobbies.
Hobbies, different, anything for stress relief, really. I don't really know what else I would say the smaller rocks are.
It's not so much like what they are, it's knowing that they're like, these are the priorities and other things are not, right? So we know now that you're completely focusing on your priorities, right? And like, it might be that you're neglecting one of your other big rocks, right? So like how you mentioned your mental and your physical health. So even just having those top four, the distribution has to be there because they're all your big rocks, right? So how are we going forward? How are we going to kind of change this, or how are we going to help this? Because if you keep going down this path, it's going to take even more of a toll on your health and your physical, mental, all of that, right? So what are some things that we can do, or have you had any thoughts in your head about what?
So I actually just talked to my boss about this earlier this week. So one of the things that I've done to manage is to change my workload for this summer, to make it a little bit more manageable for me, just given what I dealt with this past semester. So that'll be a little bit easier. I think it'll just be a little bit lighter. So I'm hoping that will help. The other thing is, I think I just need to make it a priority to say, hey, on the weekends I'm not doing any work, because it's one of the things that I've been doing, again, especially for these last 3 weeks, is I've been working on the weekends and I haven't set those boundaries for myself. So setting those boundaries, working just during my designated work times, and then having my free time or my personal life stuff, whatever I want to do. One thing that I've started to get into earlier this year, late last year, was a lot of self-care in terms of meditation and just connecting spiritually. That's been really good for me, just to keep me grounded and for some clarity as I move forward. So definitely I had a really good start to that at the beginning of this year, because things were more manageable. But as things picked up and progressed, I lost sight of those things, and I haven't made as much time. So I can see definitely that taking a toll. So I'm hoping that I can get into that
Yeah, a little bit
again.
more. Yeah. So let's say even like on a weekly scale, what are a few things you can do? Like maybe can you take out an hour in a week?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? That's doable for you. So maybe in that hour, right? Just to kind of start it off a little bit, just so you're not thrown completely off track and while your boss is reviewing your proposal and stuff for a different workload, just an hour a week, maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, right? At the end of the week, just taking time to either meditate or meal prep or go to the gym, that kind of thing. Just even though it's not your regular routine and what you were doing before, just kind of incorporating a tiny piece, because then at least you have something to look forward to, right? Monday to Friday, and you're like, okay, I have this thing for myself, and that is the time that I'm going to do it. Yeah. Even like just starting on kind of baby steps, right? So instead of jumping full out into a 4-day workout plan and a whatever meal prepping twice a week and meditating every day, right? So does that sound like something you could kind of...
Yeah, I think that sounds really manageable.
Yeah.
To have a kind of a baby step, as you mentioned, to do something that's really, to gradually get back into my routine. Yeah. Because that's one thing that I find is when I start to take on too much or go back to that, I want to work out 4 days a week and then I can't do it, and then it just adds to the stress, right? So that's a really good point.
Yeah. So can we start implementing that a little bit then, a 1 hour a week?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Sundays
seem good.
Yeah. So maybe just setting, if it's in the evening or afternoon, because I know a lot of the time Sundays are slower, so it's a good day to kind of reset and head into your week, being confident and ready to go and take on the world. Sound good?
That sounds great.
Awesome. Thanks so much for chatting today. I'll see you soon.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Bye.